My name is Elias Mercer, and for the last 3 years, I've lived inside a silence so heavy it pressed the air out of my lungs. My daughter, Lena, vanished without a trace, no witnesses, no ransom, no explanation. Just one ordinary afternoon that turned into the darkest night of my life. People say time heals. They're wrong. Time only teaches you how to carry the ache. And then last night everything I thought I knew shattered. At exactly 2 a.m., my old landline rang, slicing through the quiet like a blade. I almost didn't answer. But when I did, I heard her voice. "Dad, open the door. I'm cold." The same tremble she had when she was scared. The same softness she used when she was little. My knees nearly gave out. Lena had been missing for 3 years, gone without a goodbye. Yet someone was standing outside my house calling me, "Dad." When the clock on my nightstand flipped to 2:01 a.m., my heart was still racing from the phone call. I stood frozen in the doorway of my bedroom, listening to the house breathe around me, old wood settling, faint wind brushing against the windows, ordinary sounds that suddenly felt threatening. Lena's voice echoed in my head, soft and trembling. "Dad, open the door. I'm cold." I told myself it couldn't be her. I told myself I was exhausted, confused, maybe finally unraveling the way everyone feared I would. But something inside, something older than logic, whispered back. What if it is her? I walked down the hallway slowly, each step creaking under my weight. The house felt different tonight, like it was holding its breath with me. Shadows stretched long across the floor, bending and shifting as I passed. When I reached the front door, my hands were shaking so badly I had to steady them against the wall. I pressed my eye to the peephole. At first, all I saw was rain, thin, silver streaks falling through the glow of the porch light. Then the rain parted around a shape small, still standing just out of the light's reach. A figure no taller than Lena had been at 17. Shoulders hunched. Head bowed. Hair plastered by the storm. My breath stopped. "Lena." The word scraped out of my throat, barely audible. The figure lifted its head slowly, like it weighed too much. For a fraction of a second, I saw what looked like her face. Pale. Wet. Eyes too hollow for a girl who used to light up every room she walked into. I unlocked the deadbolt without thinking. My hands acted before my mind could catch up, driven by something primal, desperate, terrified of losing her again. The moment I cracked open the door, a rush of cold air slapped against my skin. "Lena, honey." But the porch was empty. Rain hammered against the steps. Wind swept across the yard. The street was deserted, blanketed in fog that curled around the lampposts like smoke. She was gone. I stepped out onto the porch, barefoot, rain soaking through my shirt instantly. My breaths came uneven, fogging the air in front of me. Then I saw them, faint, nearly washed away but unmistakable. Footprints. Small. Bare. Leading right up to my door. My vision blurred. I sank to my knees, touching the closest print with trembling fingers. It was cold, wet, shallow, fresh. Someone had been standing here. Someone who knew the exact sound of my daughter's voice. "Lena," I whispered into the empty night. "Where are you?" Lightning flickered somewhere in the distance, illuminating the yard for a split second. And in that instant, I thought I saw movement just beyond the tree line at the edge of my property. A flicker of a silhouette slipping into the dark. I called out again, louder this time, "Lena." Only the wind answered. By the time I forced myself back inside and locked the door, one truth had carved itself deep into my bones. Someone had been here tonight. Someone who wanted me to believe Lena was alive. And God help me. A part of me already did. I barely slept after the 2 a.m. call. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the footprints again, small, bare, shivering under the rain. By morning, the storm had passed, but the dread inside me only grew heavier. Around 7 a.m., I forced myself onto the porch to check again. The footprints were still there, fainter now, drying under the early sun, but real. Not imagined. Not dreamed. Real. I crouched closer, my fingers hovering just above the marks. My throat tightened as a memory surfaced. Lena at age 10, running barefoot across the lawn, her laughter echoing through summer air. These prints were almost the same size. A sharp voice broke my concentration. Elias? You all right out there? I looked up to see Mr. Alden Brooks, my neighbor of 20 years, standing at the edge of his driveway with a mug of coffee in hand. His gray hair was windblown, his eyes narrowed with concern. You've been out here a while, he said. Everything okay? I straightened up, wiping my hands on my jeans. Just checking something. He sipped his coffee, watching me too closely. Saw your porch light flick on around 2 this morning. Thought maybe you heard raccoons again. Raccoons. If only the truth were that simple. Before I could respond, Mrs. June Whitmore joined him, pulling her robe tighter around her shoulders. You look pale, Elias, she murmured. Did you sleep at all? I'm fine, I lied. June stepped closer, lowering her voice. You had another nightmare about Lena, didn't you? I didn't answer. She sighed, a soft, pitying sound I'd grown to hate. Grief does strange things, she said gently. You know that. My jaw clenched. This isn't grief, June. Alden and June exchanged a look, the same concerned, cautious look people had been giving me since the day my daughter disappeared. The look that said he's spiraling again. Be careful what you say. I turned away, heading back inside before they could offer more sympathy I didn't want. As soon as I shut the door behind me, frustration surged through me. I wasn't imagining things. I knew what I heard. Knew what I saw. But how could I convince anyone else when I barely understood it myself? I made coffee I didn't drink and wandered through the house. Something felt off, but I couldn't pinpoint it. Then, in the living room, I saw it. One of Lena's framed photos, usually on the fireplace mantel, was missing. I scanned the floor, the shelves, the nearby table. Nothing. My pulse kicked hard. Someone had been inside the house. I hurried through the rooms, checking drawers, closets, furniture, looking for anything else disturbed. In Lena's old bedroom, the air felt colder than the rest of the house. Soft light filtered through the curtains, illuminating dust that swirled in slow motion. Her desk drawer was cracked open. I knew I'd closed it days ago. Inside, where her journals used to be, sat a single sheet of paper folded once, centered perfectly, as if placed with intention. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. 3 words, written in Lena's handwriting. Don't trust him. My breath hitched. Who was him? And how would Lena, missing for 3 years, be writing anything now? Footsteps sounded somewhere behind me. I spun around, heart pounding, but the hallway was empty. Silence stretched across the house, thick and suffocating. Suddenly, I felt watched. Not by a ghost. Not by a memory. By someone real. Someone who wanted me to find that note. Someone who had been inside my home while I slept. I tightened my grip on the paper, my voice barely a whisper. Lena, what are you trying to tell me? I must have read the note a dozen times before I could breathe normally again. Don't trust him. The handwriting was unmistakable, slanted slightly to the right, the way Lena always wrote when she was anxious or hiding something. But the ink looked too fresh, the paper too clean, like it had been placed there last night. A chill crawled up my spine. I folded the note carefully and slipped it into my pocket. My house, me safe place, no longer felt safe at all. The walls felt closer. The rooms felt smaller. Every creak sounded deliberate, like the house itself was warning me. I checked the back door. Locked. Windows. All shut tight. So how did someone get in? As I walked toward the kitchen, I noticed something else out of place. The small ceramic owl that used to sit on the center shelf, a goofy little gift Lena made me in 3rd grade, was now on the kitchen counter, facing the hallway. I hadn't touched it in months. I picked it up. The ceramic was colder than room temperature, like it had just been brought in from outside. A faint drop of water slid down its painted wing. Rainwater. My throat tightened. Someone had been walking through my house while it stormed. I turned slowly, scanning the room. The kitchen window was locked, but the curtains were slightly parted as if someone had peeked out recently. My mind raced through possibilities: break-in, stalker, sick prank, but none of them explained the voice at 2 a.m. None explained the footprints. Unless someone was using Lena to get to me. Not as a ghost. As a weapon. My stomach twisted. I dug through the shelves above the counter until I found the faded binder where I kept the old case documents, police reports, timelines, missing person posters. I hadn't touched it in months. Holden, my nephew, always thought reopening the wound would push me too far. But the wound had reopened itself last night. I flipped to the final page, the list of people originally questioned in the investigation. Teachers. Friends. Neighbors. Family acquaintances. Then my eyes landed on a name I had nearly forgotten. Dr. Corvin Hale, lead behavioral consultant. A strange prickle spread across my skin. Dr. Hale had inserted himself into Lena's case early on, offering expert analysis, suggesting Lena had likely run away due to the stress of senior year. He'd been confident, too confident, that my daughter wasn't taken, that she left on her own. I remembered arguing with him in a cramped office at the station. She wouldn't run, I'd said. She didn't even go to sleepovers without checking in. He had just smiled. A calm, clinical smile that didn't reach his eyes. Now, staring at his name, I felt the same unease rising again. Don't trust him. Was Lena or whoever wrote the note warning me about Hale? A loud thud jolted me back to the present. It came from upstairs. I froze, every muscle locking in place. For a moment, I thought I imagined it. Then it came again, soft, dragging, like someone shifting their weight across the floorboards. My pulse hammered in my ears. I moved toward the staircase slowly, quietly. Halfway up, I stopped and listened. Nothing. Only the faint hum of the heater. I reached the top step, heart in my throat, and pushed open the door to Lena's room. The curtains fluttered gently even though the window was closed. Her music box, the one shaped like a carousel horse, was open on the dresser. I hadn't opened it in years. But now it was turning. Slowly. Creaking. Playing a soft, broken melody that made my knees go weak. I whispered into the silence, voice cracking. Lena, are you here? But deep down, I already knew. Someone else was. Someone who wanted me to believe Lena was still inside this house. Someone who wanted to break me before revealing the truth. The old carousel melody wound down until the last note cracked into silence. I stood there in Lena's room, breathing hard, staring at the music box like it might leap off the dresser. My reflection in the mirror beside it looked nothing like the man I used to be. Yes, hollow, jaw tight, a father haunted not by ghosts but by the possibility of truth. I forced myself to close the music box. The metal latch clicked shut, echoing unnaturally loud in the room. Whoever had been inside my house had touched this, had wounded deliberately. Not to comfort me. To unsettle me. To warn me. Or to drive me toward something. I left the room and sat at the kitchen table, spreading out everything I had, the note, the photo that had gone missing from the mantel, the damp ceramic owl, and the printout listing names from the original investigation. My eyes kept returning to one name. Corvin Hale. I remembered him vividly now, the calm voice, the pressed shirt, the way he had spoken to me like he was diagnosing a patient rather than comforting a grieving father. He'd been so certain Lena had run away. So certain she wasn't in danger. And when the search efforts began to wane, he had been the first to gently suggest I accept the emotional reality that Lena may not return. He'd said it with a sympathetic tilt of the head, the look of a man who believed he understood me better than I understood myself. I used to think he meant well. Now, I wasn't so sure. I grabbed my keys. If this man was part of Lena's disappearance, even remotely, I needed to know. The first confrontation. Hale's private practice sat on the edge of town, a sleek one-story building with glass walls and minimalist landscaping. Too polished. Too serene. The kind of place people walked into broken and walked out stacking their pain neatly on Dr. Hale's expensive shelves. When I stepped inside, the air smelled faintly of lavender, manufactured calm. A receptionist with bright eyes and a professional smile greeted me. "Good morning, sir. Do you have an appointment?" "No," I said. "But I need to speak with Dr. Hale. It's about my daughter. Lena Mercer." The receptionist blinked, recognition flickering across her face. "Dr. Hale consulted on that case years ago, didn't he?" "Yes." My voice was hard. "And I need to revisit some details. I'm afraid he's in a session at the moment, but..." A door opened down the hall. Dr. Corvin Hale stepped out, adjusting the cuffs of his charcoal gray shirt. He looked exactly the same as 3 years ago, sharp jawline, composed posture, eyes too steady to be trusted. When he saw me, he smiled politely. "Elias Mercer," he said. "It's been a long time." I studied his expression, searching for cracks. There were none. "I need a moment," I said. "It's about Lena." He gestured toward his office. "Of course. Come in." The room was warm, quiet, carefully staged to appear comforting. I sat, but Hale remained standing, watching me the way a scientist watches a specimen. "What brings you here today?" he asked. "I got a phone call last night," I said. "At 2 in the morning." His eyebrow lifted just a fraction. "From whom?" "From Lena." He didn't flinch. Not even a twitch. Instead, he sighed softly. "Elias, grief doesn't disappear. Sometimes it resurfaces in ways that feel real, especially at night." "I'm not imagining this." I heard her voice. "A memory can feel like a voice," he said gently, folding his hands. "Especially when the mind is tired." I leaned forward. Someone was on my porch. I saw footprints. This time, his eyes darkened, not with fear, not with surprise, but with something calculating. "Elias," he said quietly, "you're under a great deal of stress. That makes you vulnerable to misinterpretations." "Is that what you think?" I asked. "That I'm losing my mind?" He paused, choosing his words. "I think you're a man in pain. And pain can be manipulated by your own mind or by others." I felt the warning beneath the politeness. Before I could respond, he added. "If someone is making you believe Lena is alive, you must be careful whom you trust." My heart thudded. "Don't trust him." The note in my pocket felt like it was burning through the fabric. I stood abruptly. "Thank you for your time." He didn't stop me. He simply offered a serene smile, the kind that chilled me deeper than the storm last night. As I stepped out into the sunlight, one truth crystallized in my mind. Dr. Corvin Hale knew something. Something he wasn't saying. Something he had no intention of letting me uncover. And he was watching me now closer than before. I must have replayed the audio 100 times. The static. The trembling breath. And Lena's voice, fragile, terrified, unmistakably alive. "Dad, please, they won't let me go." Every time I heard it, it carved another crack through my chest. My little girl. My Lena. 3 years stolen. Every missed birthday. Every empty chair. All of it real. Not imagined. Not gone. Alive. By the time midnight crawled across the clock, I was pacing the living room with the lights off, clutching the USB drive like it was a lifeline. If this recording existed, someone made it. Someone held her. Someone wanted me to hear it. But why? What did they gain by dragging me through this nightmare? My answer came at 2 a.m. Sharp, the hour that had become a curse. The landline rang. One shrill note. Then another. Then another. My entire body locked. I didn't breathe until the fourth ring. I picked up slowly, pressing the phone to my ear. "Lena?" I whispered. For a moment nothing. Only soft static, like wind slipping between broken walls. Then. "Dad." Her voice cracked, weak, as if she'd been crying for hours. "I don't have long." My knees nearly buckled. "Lena, tell me where you are." "I'm coming for you right now." A quiet sob bled through the line. "They're moving me, Dad, tonight." Her breath hitched painfully. "It's somewhere cold, I hear trucks, chains, I don't know where." The line rustled violently, like she was being pulled away. "Lena!" I shouted. "Stay on the line, talk to me." But another voice seeped into the background, low, guttural, commanding. Not a voice I recognized. Lena gasped. Then. A blunt thud. A muffled cry. "Lena!" The line cut. The dial tone hummed like a funeral bell. I stood there in the dark, trembling, the phone heavy against my ear. She was alive, terrified. Being moved. But now I had nothing but the echo of her fear. Nothing except the map I found in Hale's files. My mind raced. The circled industrial zone. The label, potential refuge location. He knew. He had known all along. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door when something slammed against the exterior wall of my house. Hard. I froze, heartbeat thundering. Another slam, closer to the back door this time. Someone was outside. I crept toward the kitchen, staying low, gripping a heavy flashlight like a weapon. Rain tapped lightly against the windows, but beneath it there were footsteps. Deliberate. Slow. I flicked the porch light on. Empty. Then movement in the far corner of the yard. A tall silhouette stood at the tree line, barely visible in the dark. Not moving. Watching. The same build as the man from the records office. My breath caught. "Hey!" I shouted, stepping onto the porch. "Who are you?" He didn't run. Didn't respond. He just lifted something, a phone, maybe, and pointed it at me. Then he turned and melted into the woods like he belonged to the shadows. I backed into the house, locking the door so fast I nearly broke the latch. Someone was tracking me. Someone was watching my every move. And they wanted me to know it. The attempt. Determined to reach the industrial zone, I headed for the garage. Rain hammered the roof as I climbed into the truck. I jammed the key into the ignition. A sharp, metallic snap echoed beneath the hood. The truck lurched. Then the brake pedal dropped straight to the floor. No note emit. I yanked the wheel, slamming the gear into park just before the truck coasted into the street. My heart pounded as I scrambled out and popped the hood. A clean slice ran through the brake line. Fresh. Someone had tried to kill me. Not scare me. Kill me. My hands shook with fury and fear. The message was painfully clear. Stop searching for Lena. And the thing that terrified me most was not the danger to me. It was the realization that they were preparing to move her again. Hide her again. Or worse, silence her forever. I slammed the hood down and looked toward the dark horizon where the industrial zone waited. Hold on, Lena, I whispered. I'm coming. Whether I had brakes or not. The storm had weakened into a cold drizzle by the time I left my driveway on foot. Under normal circumstances I would have waited for daylight, gathered help, called the police, anything reasonable. But reason died the moment I heard Lena's voice break on that line. Every minute I waited was a minute she spent in hell. The industrial zone sat 2 miles east of town, a forgotten patch of rusted metal, collapsed roofs, and empty warehouses. It had once been a thriving steel fabrication yard, but fire and bankruptcy had left it to rot. Even kids didn't dare sneak in anymore. Which made it the perfect place to hide someone. I moved quickly through the darkness, staying close to the tree line. My breath puffed white in the cold air. My legs ached, but adrenaline pushed them forward. Halfway there, a dark SUV sped past on the main road, no headlights. My pulse spiked. The silhouette in the driver's seat was bulky, broad-shouldered like the man I'd seen in my yard. They were moving her. Right now. I broke into a run. The compound. By the time I reached the fence surrounding the industrial yard, dawn was threatening the horizon, casting a faint blue glow over rusted metal skeletons. The gate hung crooked, chains rusted through. No lock. I slipped inside. Cold wind howled between the hollow buildings. Each step echoed off steel beams. My flashlight beam danced across peeling paint, shattered windows, abandoned machinery. Then footprints. In the mud. Small ones. My heart seized. I followed them between 2 warehouses, through a collapsed doorway, and into a building that smelled of mold and iron. A faint light flickered deeper inside, yellow, artificial. I moved toward it, grip tightening around the flashlight, my breath shallow. The light led to a narrow corridor lined with office doors. I passed one, then another until a sound stopped me. A sob. Soft. Shaking. Familiar. Lena, I whispered. The sobbing stopped. I rushed forward and yanked open the door. Inside was a small room, bare concrete walls, a metal chair, discarded blankets. And in the corner, her knees pulled to her chest, hair tangled, clothes dirty, eyes wide with terror. Lena. For a moment, the world disappeared. My lungs emptied. My vision blurred. Dad? Her voice cracked like ice breaking. Is it really you? I fell to my knees and pulled her into my arms. She clung to me with shaking fingers, sobbing into my shoulder. I held her as tightly as I dared, afraid she might vanish again. You're safe, I whispered, breathless. I've got you now. I've got you. But the illusion of safety shattered when Lena stiffened suddenly. He's here, she whispered. Dada followed you. A door slammed somewhere in the hallway. Heavy footsteps echoed closer. I pushed Lena gently behind me and stood, gripping the flashlight like a club. A shadow stretched across the doorway, tall, deliberate. Then Dr. Corvin Hale stepped into the room. But he didn't look polished now. No pressed shirt. No calm smile. Just cold, clenched fury. You should have stayed out of this, Elias, he said quietly. I warned you. My throat tightened. You took her. You kept her hidden for 3 years. His jaw flexed. I protected her. From herself. From you. From the world that breaks fragile minds. She was never unstable, I spat. You made that up. He shrugged, a small, emotionless gesture. People believe what I tell them. That's what makes them weak. I stepped forward. Where's the man who's been watching my house? Was he helping you? A dark smile tugged at Hale's lips. Everyone helps me. They don't know it, but they do. He reached into his coat. I tensed, ready for a gun. Instead, he pulled out a syringe. Clear liquid glinted inside. Lena gasped. No, Dad'n't let him. I charged before Hale could finish his sentence. The flashlight cracked against his wrist. The syringe flew across the room, clattering against concrete. Hale roared and tackled me into the wall. My ribs exploded with pain. He swung once, twice. I ducked the second blow, grabbing a metal pipe from the floor and swinging blindly. The pipe connected with his shoulder. Hale stumbled, cursing, grabbing for me again. Run! I yelled at Lena. She darted past him, sprinting out the door. Hale lunged after her. I grabbed his coat, yanking him backward. He turned on me with the fury of a cornered animal, slamming me into the metal frame of the doorway. My vision flashed white. You ruined everything, he snarled. I swung again, this time hitting him square in the temple. He collapsed, motionless. I staggered upright, chest heaving, vision spinning. Lena! I shouted. Her small voice echoed from outside. Dad, I am here. I ran into the open yard and found her trembling behind an overturned metal crate. I grabbed her hand. We're leaving, I said. Now. Sirens wailed in the distance. Growing louder. Lena clung to my arm. You came for me, she whispered. I always will. We moved toward the broken gate as the first sliver of sunrise cut across the abandoned yard, a thin, trembling line of hope. But somewhere behind us, inside the warehouse, metal scraped against concrete. Hale wasn't dead. Not yet. And the nightmare wasn't over. We were halfway to the gate when the warehouse behind us groaned like a waking beast. I spun around just as Corvin Hale dragged himself into the doorway, one hand pressed against the side of his head, blood streaking down his temple. His eyes, those cold, assessing eyes, locked onto Lena with a fury I'd never seen in a human being. Elias, he roared, voice cracking. You don't get to take her from me. Lena tightened her grip on my hand. Dad, please don't let him. I stepped between her and Hale, lifting the metal pipe again, even though my arms were shaking, even though my ribs screamed, even though I was outmatched. I didn't care. He would not touch her. Not again. But before Hale could take another step, blue and red light exploded across the steel yard. Police cruisers barreled through the broken gate, tires spitting gravel. Officers swarmed out, guns raised, shouting commands. Hale staggered, blinking against the floodlights, and for a moment I saw the truth settle onto his face. It was over. He dropped to his knees. Not out of guilt, Hale didn't understand that word. But because men like him crumble only when cornered by consequences. An officer cuffed him, reading his rights. Hale looked up at me one last time, hatred bleeding through the cracks of his calm persona. You destroyed years of work, he whispered. She was mine to fix. No, I said softly. She was my daughter. And you broke her. They pulled him away, his screams echoing through the hollow yard until the doors of the cruiser slammed shut. Aftermath. Paramedics wrapped blankets around Lena and me as the sun finally broke the horizon, casting gold across the rusted warehouses. Lena leaned against me, exhausted, trembling, but alive. Alive. I kept my arm around her, terrified she might disappear if I let go even for a second. A detective approached, notebook in hand. Mr. Mercer, we listened to your call recording. That evidence alone will put Hale away for a long time. And what we found inside the warehouse, he shook his head. You saved her. I didn't feel like a savior. I felt like a father who had nearly run out of time. Lena was taken to the hospital for evaluation. I stayed beside her the entire time, refusing to step out of the room even when nurses insisted she needed rest. She would sleep, then jolt awake in terror. I would hold her hand until she drifted off again. 3 years of silence had carved deep wounds into both of us. But that first night back home, when I tucked her into her childhood bed, when she whispered, "Don't leave, Dad," I sat in a chair beside her and listened to her breathe, steady and real and here. For the first time in years, the house felt alive again. The final truth. Weeks passed. Hale was charged with kidnapping, psychological manipulation, falsifying evidence, and several other crimes investigators were only beginning to unravel. His private practice closed overnight. His face filled every local news station. Everyone asked me how I knew to keep searching. I never said it was the footprints. Or the note. Or the recording. I told them the truth. I never stopped hearing my daughter's voice. Not the calls at 2 a.m. The real one. The one that never let me give up. And now, when the clock strikes 2 a.m., I don't wake in fear. I walk down the hallway to Lena's room, crack the door open, and listen to her steady breathing. A reminder of what love can endure. A reminder of what a father can overcome. A reminder that darkness doesn't win. Not if you keep walking toward the light.